An incredible find amazes us with its revelations. An enigmatic discovery leaves us with more questions than answers. Following this logic, a find that is both incredible and enigmatic meets both conditions. This video is for show and tell, so we'll introduce you to some finds that fit this description and tell you everything about them. Number 1. There are many examples of Neolithic art in Scotland, but none pose as much of a mystery as those known as toy stones or toy balls. They are sometimes more simply called carved stone balls, a title that is not very imaginative. These balls are not especially rare, but finding multiple examples of them doesn't get us any closer to understanding why they were made or what they were used for. The first specimen appeared in Ayrshire in the 19th century, but more continued to be found until 2013. They are small enough to fit in the palm of the hand, measuring on average between 5 and 12 centimeters in diameter, and can be made of any common rock, from granite to sandstone. Instead of being spherical, they are deliberately covered in raised areas and decorated with intricate patterns of lines and circles. Similar patterns have also been found on artifacts belonging to the Picts, who lived in Scotland 2,800 years ago, but the stones are much older. Some are believed to be more than 5,000 years old. Theories about their use vary from their possible use as weapons to a type of resume that bricklayers carried with them to demonstrate their skills when seeking paid employment. Number 2. You may have seen this next artifact in the news relatively recently. In 2018, it was stolen from a museum in France, causing minor national alarm until it was found and recovered a week later. This is an item worth worrying about, because it is truly one of a kind. It is a human heart contained within a solid gold container topped with a crown. This is the golden reliquary of the heart of Anne of Brittany, which has been safely returned to the Nantes Museum. Anne was a hugely significant figure in French history. She is the only woman to marry 2 French kings and also managed to marry a Holy Roman Emperor before she died in 1514. Her death was considered such a national tragedy that the official mourning period lasted more than a month. In her will, she specified that, upon her death, her heart was to be removed and placed inside a solid gold container before being sent to the city of Nantes and placed inside her parents' tomb. Most of her wishes were fulfilled, so her heart is inside the golden box. It may not be in her parents' grave, but at least the Nantes Museum is in the same city. Number 3. Fruitcake is famous for staying edible for a long time after being made, but even taking that into account, we would have strong reservations about eating this particular fruitcake. It is more than a century old and was found in a hut at Cape Adare in Antarctica in 2017. The hut itself is Borchgrevink hut, built by Norwegian explorer Carsten Borchgrevink in 1899 and later used by other explorers. It is the oldest man-made structure in Antarctica. Borchgrevink did not make or carry this cake. It is believed to date from Captain Robert Falcon Scott's ill-fated Terra Nova expedition between 1910 and 1913. A company called Huntley and Palmer's is known to have provided supplies to the Terra Nova expedition, so the fruitcake is probably their work. Scott never reached Cape Adare, so the cake must have belonged to the group led by First Officer Victor Campbell, who took refuge there during the winter of 1911. Experts say the cake is in excellent condition and is still edible. We take them at their word. Due to their high energy, fruitcakes remain a popular choice for explorers visiting Antarctica. Number 4. While we're talking about food, let's see what can be discovered by examining the contents of a Bronze Age lunchbox. This particular box was found when it was revealed by melting glacial ice at the Lunchbox Pass in 2012, 2,400 meters above sea level in the Bernese Alps. The circular box is made of 3 different types of wood. The base is pine, the sides are willow, and the seams are larch. As the box is made of wood, it was possible for scientists to perform radiocarbon tests, thus confirming that it is at least 4,000 years old. Amazingly, the same ice that preserved the wood also partially preserved traces of what used to be inside the box. Scientists have found tar or slag adhering to interior wood surfaces, indicating that it was used to store or transport whole grains. Their presence in this specific location raises questions for historians. Was there a trade route connecting these Bernese highlands to the valley, or was it simply a case of a hiker packing a lunchbox before setting off on a long journey? Number 5. In 2013 it was decided that the Neptune shipyard in Newcastle upon Tyne, England, would be expanded. Before expansion work began, archaeologists were asked to examine the planned construction site. When they did, they found an 80-foot-long stretch of wooden railway. This is not just any wooden railway, it is the oldest surviving wooden railway in the world. When these rails were built in the 18th century, trains had not yet been invented. Instead, the railroad carried wooden wagon-like vehicles, known as chalupas, which were pulled by horses along the tracks. This specific 80-foot stretch was part of the Willington Wagonway, which was built in 1785. It is so rustic that some of its sleepers are little more than tree branches cut and wedged into the track. The find is of international importance because the Willington Wagonway was the first to be built with the international gauge, which was copied from wagon rails to steam locomotives and later became the world standard thanks to the expansion of the British Empire. The discovery was in danger from the moment it was made, because the wood was suddenly exposed to the elements, but it has since been preserved. Number 6. Emojis could one day become the most used form of language in the world. But if you think they are a modern invention, we have a surprise for you. The smiley face is the most used and recognizable emoji of all, and it's easy to recognize carved into the side of this 3,700-year-old jug that was found in Kish, Turkey, in July 2017. The marking was done deliberately, and the style it's almost identical to the type of smiley face people draw today. We think this officially qualifies as the world's oldest smiley face. The jug was used to drink sherbet, so it is very likely that whoever owned it associated the object with good times and fun. The smiley face, therefore, would be in tune with its use. At the time the jar was made, the area where it was found would have been controlled by the Hittites, so it can never be said that the Hittites did not have a sense of humor. The digital emojis we use today were created during the 1980s, but did not become popular until the late 1990s, when the world moved digital. Number 7. Around 10,070 of these ancient swords have been found scattered throughout Europe, from Scandinavia to the banks of the Volga River. Despite looking ordinary, they are famous for being the best swords ever created. Known as Ulfbert swords, these weapons that can be traced back to the Viking Age are shrouded in mystery. We know that these swords were made of crucible steel, material with high carbon content. Their material and the way they were forged were centuries ahead of their time in Europe, with a quality not seen again until the Industrial Revolution. But how did these Viking Age blacksmiths come to have such advanced metallurgical knowledge? Archaeologists believe that the secret of these swords lies in trade routes that extended far beyond the Viking homelands, possibly reaching as far as the Middle East or South Asia, where the technique to create such steel was already known. The high carbon content in the steel of Ulfbert swords has made them exceptionally strong and flexible compared to other swords of the time, capable of being sharp and resilient in battle. Another strange thing about these swords is their inscription, which roughly reads, Ulfbert, hence their name. It suggests a single manufacturer or possibly a workshop marked with this name. However, variations in the quality and authenticity of the swords found with this inscription suggest that while some were genuine, others were imitations. Number 8. In 1938, archaeologists discovered something incredibly out of place while excavating near Baghdad, rock batteries dating back more than 2,000 years. However, this battery is nothing like the ones we use today. It is a small clay jar that at first glance doesn't look like much, but inside it contains a copper cylinder that encloses an iron bar. This artifact, dating to the Parthian period around 250 BC to 224 AD, it is known as the Baghdad Battery. This artifact has captured the attention of historians and archaeologists for good reason. After all, if the Baghdad Battery is indeed a battery, it would mean that ancient civilizations may have had a rudimentary understanding of electricity long before modern discovery and use of electrical energy. The researchers found that by using an acidic or alkaline substance like vinegar or lemon juice, they could theoretically produce an electrical current from the combination of materials in the Baghdad battery, similar to a simple galvanic cell. Let's say this jar was not intended to be a battery. What could be its possible use? Some have speculated that it could have been used for electroplating, giving a thin layer of gold or silver to other metals, a technique known as gilding. Others, however, suggest that it could have had a ceremonial or medicinal purpose, perhaps used to relieve pain in a similar way to how we use electrical stimulation in medicine today. Unfortunately for us, its mystery remains. Number 9. Nestled in the rugged terrain of Siberia's Altai Mountains is Denisova Cave. These caverns may not look like much from the outside, but they are one of the most significant places in the world. It was in 2008 when researchers discovered how amazing these caverns are. You see, deep in these caves, scientists unearthed a small fragment of a finger bone. It may not seem like much, but subsequent DNA analyses revealed that he belonged to a previously unknown group of ancient humans, later called the Denisovans after the cave. Why is this discovery so innovative? Well, it introduced us to a whole new chapter of the human family tree. Before this, we knew our Homo sapiens ancestors and our close cousins the Neanderthals. However, the Denisovans showed us that our ancestral line was much more complex than we initially thought. Genetic evidence suggests that Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans not only coexisted, but also interbred. That's right, the DNA of modern humans from certain parts of the world contains fragments inherited from the Denisovans. But the Denisova cave has more secrets to reveal. Along with Denisovan remains, scientists have found artifacts and evidence of habitation by both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. But perhaps the most astonishing find is a bracelet made of green chloride, estimated to be about 40,000 years old. This bracelet shows signs of advanced tool use and an aesthetic sense, challenging our assumptions about the technological and cultural capabilities of ancient humans. Every artifact, every bone fragment discovered in this cave reveals something new about human history. Now, who knows what other secrets lie hidden within these caverns? Number 10. In the 1960s, researchers at the University of Chicago and Istanbul University discovered Göbekli Tepe, but instead of being studied, it was widely ignored. Needless to say, this turned out to be a big mistake. It was only in 1994 when excavations began thanks to the German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt. This marked the beginning of Göbekli Tepe, a structure that could be the world's first temple. This site seems insignificant like another hill in southeastern Turkey, but it is actually a man-made structure older than Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, which date back 11,600 years. Before this study and excavation of Göbekli Tepe, we believed that humans started out as hunter-gatherers, that we depended on hunting and gathering, and then we learned to farm, settle, build communities, and as those communities grew, they built temples and monuments. However, the discovery of this ancient temple changes the narrative. At a time when something as simple as agriculture was not yet established, the construction of Göbekli Tepe comes as a surprise. Why did people at that time bother creating a massive complex with stone pillars over 20 feet tall and weighing up to 10 tons? What is the importance of this place? Also, how did they do it without written records from that time? We have no way of answering these questions. A ceremonial site? A simple place to meet other hunters? The truth behind Göbekli Tepe could change the history of humanity. Number 11. In 2016, researchers using advanced particle physics techniques discovered a mysterious void in Egypt's iconic Great Pyramid of Giza. They used muon radiography, something quite similar to taking an X-ray. These particles, which come from cosmic rays that impact the Earth's atmosphere, can penetrate solid materials such as the stones of the pyramid. By measuring where more particles, known as muons, pass, scientists can detect voids or areas of lower density within the structure. This is how they found a corridor-shaped hole in the pyramid, which measured approximately 98 feet and had a gallery similar in cross-section to the narrow corridor leading to the king's chamber. The purpose of this hallway is still a mystery. It could be a structural feature, like other voids in the pyramid that were built to redistribute its enormous weight, or it could be something else entirely. Speculation is part of the excitement. Number 12. Baby dragons. In the karst caves of Slovenia lives a unique and elusive creature, the proteus, an aquatic salamander also known as the human fish. Adapted to total darkness and blind, these pale cave dwellers have retained their baby dragon appearance for millions of years in the depths of Europe. Measuring up to a foot in length, proteans live in freshwater pools and underground rivers within caves, never coming to the surface. They are blind and use sensory tentacles to detect prey, and remain in larval form throughout their lives, retaining juvenile characteristics. Proteans can live more than a century and are found only in Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia. Adapted to underground life, their flesh is protected against freezing by calcium deposits. Their frugal metabolism allows them to go for years without food. When they reproduce, females lay up to 70 eggs, and recently, more than 20 baby proteans were born in a Slovenian cave, bringing joy to researchers. These little white dragons are a symbol of hope for the future of the proteans, despite threats such as pollution and habitat alteration. Their generations belong to the depths, connecting us to the lost worlds of Earth. Number 13. Discovered in 1986 during the construction of a power plant, Mile Cave in Romania has been isolated from sunlight and external contact for 5.5 million years. Despite perpetual darkness, a lack of oxygen, and air laced with carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen sulfide, the cave is home to surprising life. Spiders, insects, and crustaceans adapted to the harsh conditions were found, many without eyes or pigmentation. The mucus-covered walls contain chemosynthetic microbes that form the basis of a complex food chain. Mile Cave is the first terrestrial ecosystem that does not depend on sunlight, but on the chemical energy of bacteria that convert gases. This alien habitat has evolved in total isolation for millions of years. Although the atmosphere is toxic to humans, much of the cave is still unexplored, with more strange species yet to be discovered. Mile Cave shows the tenacity of life in environments previously considered uninhabitable, expanding our ideas about habitability on Earth and beyond.